I'd like to introduce Michelle Yasso, who is the administrator of Bridging Health Vanuatu. Bridging Health have been partnering with Days for Girls Australia since 2018, and they have distributed about 5,000 kits on our behalf. So welcome, Michelle, and can you give us a quick outline of what Bridging Health does?
Okay, so Bridging Health works in vulnerable and remote communities of Vanuatu, mostly in the outer islands, doing mobile health clinics, community development projects, women's health education, and schools education, with the vision to improve the generational health in these communities that we partner with.
That's fantastic. So we're so happy that you're one of our partners. So I was going to find out a bit of information about how you have managed the safeguarding aspects of distributions in those remote communities. Some of our other distribution volunteers have stressed the need for cultural knowledge and consideration when distributing our kits. How have you managed this aspect?
So safeguarding for us is across the board with in all of our communities is obviously for the girls and boys, and for the young adults and our vulnerable people. The Often we think when we're talking about safeguarding, we're looking at the Indigenous people groups, but with our teams, we also have the fact that we're taking sometimes students under the age of 18 into communities away from their familiar families, their homes, their foods, their cultures, and so we need to make sure that every single one of them are properly prepared to be able to engage safely, where they're not going to feel um, underprepared and possibly abused. We want to make sure that they're properly prepared for those things, particularly in the situation where we have men who know, we have young people teaching men who know.
Mhm.
So, uh, which would be in a cultural setting, not normal. So we want everybody prepared for those situations. Even young girls uh, teaching women about uh, their cycles and the Good Days for Girls education components. It's really important that they are prepared with how to honor the culture, how to engage with elders, um, and our teams, what we do is our leaders will go into a community before anybody goes in there. We speak with the chief or the chief representatives. We speak with the elders. We make sure that the content is suitable and approved,
Mhm.
and um, and make sure that what we're discussing is going to be embraced by the community. Um,
Mhm.
because if the chief approves, then everybody approves. So, but we also do that by inviting the when we go into schools, we invite the mothers and the grandmothers, because this um, when when new concepts are being introduced into a community, the wider the group that accepts that, and those discussions happen in intergenerational capacity rather than children between themselves or youth between themselves, that those things become established much quicker, and protects the hearts, safeguards the girls going home and the boys going home to share this information, which is often countercultural. Um, and so it's really, really important that we share the load of that information across multiple generations where it's established quickly. So, yeah, that does that answer that question?
Yes, I think so. So really, the presence of those older people in at the distribution seems to be very critical. Can you give us any examples of how this has had an ongoing effect in a community?
Okay, yeah. So in the last 5 years, we've had the opportunity of speaking in custom villages. So custom villages are villages that maintain their traditions for the same traditions they've had for hundreds of years.
Mhm.
They are resistant to change, particularly to Western ways,
Mm.
medications, education. A lot of children in custom villages don't go to school. So when we go in, we're aware that there is that um, focus that
Resistance.
yeah,
Mm.
well, we focus a lot what we call on future safeguarding.
Mm.
So future safeguarding is not just within the time that we are there sharing about Days for Girls, distributing the kits and protecting not just our volunteers and our um, people that are attending the education, but that then becomes something that is safeguarding them ongoing. So
Mm.
so they're taking the information, it's establishing a change that is bringing about future safeguarding, but but it's also walking gently. So we have this terminology of just walk gently, because when we go into custom villages where the culture is so different. So I'll give you an example. We went into one custom village, and our leadership team went through the content of um, the talk that we were going to be presenting so that they understood exactly. So the chief identified certain things that could not be discussed. Uh, and it did take a large chunk out of what we were allowed to speak about. We weren't allowed to distribute kits on the first time that we were there, because they have their own culture around periods and what they do and what women are allowed to participate in. And so when we walk gently, it's that coming alongside them and giving them the confidence that we are supporting them in their goal for a healthier community. And so the next time that we went, because we honored the boundaries that were given to us, the next time that we went, we were allowed to share the full um, education,
Mhm.
and we also did the Men Who Know, and that was fully taken on board by the chiefs and opened up all these discussions to do with appropriate ages for women to have children, and, and whether menstruation was actually a correct or the safest indicator of when a girl should start having children. So
Mhm.
those are massive wins, and we
Mm.
call that future safeguarding, which Days for Girls should be very proud of themselves for doing. So um, yeah, so those elements, it's worth walking gently and just winning the trust and the confidence bit by bit, so that that future safeguarding is put in place and established bit by bit by bit.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic, Michelle. I love that phrase, future safeguarding. And I just
Mm,
think it's amazing that all of our endeavors to
mm,
make sure that our interactions with these other cultures are safe and that we keep our volunteers safe. It's such a
Mm,
fantastic thing that this has an ongoing
mm,
effect and that it's bringing lasting change into these communities
yes,
in a way that is acceptable and owned by those
mm,
cultures.
that's right.
So thank you so much for sharing with us today, Michelle. I'm sure that that's been really helpful for our volunteers. Thank
Oh,
you.
wonderful. Thank you very much for having me.